Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a fabulous, fun, quick and easy bracelet using memory wire. For a full list of the materials that I'm going to be using, you can check out the description below. I want to welcome you to my channel. My name is Nilay Patel and I'm the owner, designer, and educator here at Silver Silk and More. Now, before we get started with our tutorial today, you'll want to make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and I'm talking destroy that subscribe button. And if you're looking for even more inspiration, you can check out my Instagram. And so, without further ado, I think we should get started with today's project. All right. As you can see at my table, I've got a few very specific tools that I'm going to be using for today's project. The first is a pair of round nose pliers. These are all from Weber's, except for my cutters here that I'm getting ready to show you. These are a pair of Lindstrom cutters that I'm going to be using to cut my memory wire. This might make some people uncomfortable because memory wire is such a very strong metal component to cut with. I've had really good luck with these pliers so far, and they've been able to cut through some pretty crazy stuff, in fact. And so I recommend just using a pair of heavy duty cutters to cut memory wire. And then I've just got a standard pair of chain nose pliers. This will be used to attach any of the components and charms that we've got going on our bracelet. Okay, along with materials, I've got some beautiful pearlesque amber hollow mesh. This is going to be used to cover our beads. It's going to add a very cool, unusual texture to the bracelet. And it's going to make for a very sculptural, multi-layered piece, I think. So I'm excited to use it, and I love the color because it kind of looks like honey to me, which is sort of today's theme with our charms, which is going to be bees and honeycombs. I have a few coils of memory wire here. This is in a silver color. It is plated, and as you can see, it is very springy like memory wire is. It's got a very specific memory coil, and this is just perfect for a bracelet. You can really find this at any craft store, since it's a very commonly used type of bracelet medium or material. And so I just picked up some myself, and I'm going to be stringing on some 4mm crystals. And this is going to be a perfect fit for the memory wire, but also the diameter of the hollow mesh. And if you are wondering how to increase the diameter of your hollow mesh to accommodate these little crystals even better, you can use a chopstick, skewer, or a knitting needle to make it bigger, simply by feeding it through your dowel rod of some sort. In this case, I'm using a chopstick. And then you can just kind of press on it and get it onto the actual form there, and then just have it exit out through the other end. And actually, this will help to open it up some as you're stringing it along. So I would recommend having, again, either a knitting needle or a chopstick to help you out there. Okay, so we talked about the crystals. Here I just have a pair of Tierra Cast end caps. These are available in my store, silversilkonline.com. And these have a little hole at the top so that you can feed your beading wire, your memory wire, any sort of string material right through that cap. So I've got a couple of those. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I just have some charms. These are also from Tierra Cast. Really cool. I love the bee theme. It's perfect for spring and summer. And I just have a thing for bees in general. So this is going to be great to string right on. I have a pair of 6mm jump rings on hand. This will be used again to attach my little charms. And that's really about it. I went ahead and pre-strung my beads so you guys don't have to watch me through the video stringing these little guys on here. This is a copper color crystal, which is, I think, a perfect complement for the amber color pearlesque chain, as you can see. And what's funny here is that I've actually used earring stoppers to stop my beads from falling through. onto my memory wire. So you could just slide that right through. And in fact, I needed to string on a couple more crystals, which are these guys right here. So you could see that these are fairly easy to string on. It just takes a little bit of time to get it on the memory wire coils, but otherwise strings on very easily. And then you could just use your bead stoppers to kind of, stop everything in place and adjust if you need to. And this will be also helpful for feeding the memory, or for feeding, excuse me, the pearlesque chain through. One thing I do need to do is I need to make sure that one of my sides is dull and doesn't have a pointed side. So I'm actually going to just use my chain nose pliers to bend it in to make sort of a smallish hook. Again, this is to get a blunt end so that whenever I feed the pearlesque chain through it, it's not going to get caught up in anything, and I can easily string this right on. Now, putting this through does take a little bit of time and effort, but it's quite easy. It's just a matter of making sure that it snakes on there quite easily. As you can see, I got to really work around those coils and then work my way through. It is easier on the beading wire because it's such a straight piece of material to work with, whereas the memory wire does have the loops to work through. So as long as you have a little bit of patience, it can actually go through quite easily. There we go. So yeah, you just work in a little bit at a time and just kind of push through. There's really no big secret to this that makes the whole step easier other than just to kind of roll it as it's being strung on, and that'll make it a little bit easier. Now, sometimes your beads will want to shift and then you'll get gaps in between, but don't worry about it. That's all adjustable at the end anyway. Okay, and then once we get a good portion of this strung on, we can start to make any adjustments from there. And then the rest is just gonna come together quite easily. There we go. So now at this point, I can actually go ahead and remove one side of as I sort of work this around, um, one of my earring stoppers. So I'm just going to actually go ahead and trim this little hook off and put it to the side. Take my earring back off. And what I'm going to do at this one side, before even getting the rest of this kind of sorted out, is I just want to pinch and roll and kind of really secure that last bit of that knitted wire. That's going to be the part that's going to be tucked into my end cap anyway. So if it's a little bit messy, don't worry about it, because as you can see, once I string this on, it'll cover it right up pretty easily. And on this other side, while I have everything sort of free flowing here, I can take my round nose pliers and I can just create a little hook like that. And actually what I probably should have done was have it face out, which I can still do a little bit because I want my charms to stick down there. So there we go. So as you can see, my loop just faces out now. And then I was able to kind of bend that pretty easily. So that looks really nice and tidy. So now I could just start to string everything toward that, get it all nice and tightened up. And then this side is just really easy to pull because everything is pulled together now already. So I can take out my second earring back, get this nice and bundled up here at the top. You really do want to make sure the second side is nice and secure though, because you don't want that coming out later. So if you wanted to take a little piece of extra wire and wrap it around, which I don't think is necessary, but you can absolutely do that. Maybe a 26 gauge piece of wire and just get it kind of wrapped up in that top part. You can absolutely do that just to give yourself a little bit more security. I don't think it's necessary at this point. It looks like everything is nice and quite sturdy, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and string on my second end cap. There we go. You see how those Tierra Cast cords fit in quite nicely into this design, and it just makes it look super professional. Okay, now what I can do is trim off up to about a 1/2 inch. Okay, and I want my my loop to face on the inside, but facing top front like this one as well. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, get it positioned and ready to be shaped. If I have a little bit of gap, which it looks like I do, I'm just going to trim off a little bit of my loop. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in to my round nose pliers and just continue to bend. And you should have something that looks close to this. That looks really, really good. And now I'm basically ready to stick on my charms. Oh, I do have a little gap there actually that I do want to fix. So let me do that real quick. There we go. Yeah, sometimes that memory wire has that much memory, enough to, want to stick out just a little bit, but you can definitely use your tools to help clamp it shut. Okay, so now I can grab my jump rings that I had mentioned earlier and just basically attach my charms. Very easy to do. Highly decorative. As you can see, I made this in minutes. And it's so easy to put on because I like to make jewelry that is very easy, effortless to make, but also effortless to wear. And certainly this one doesn't have to, you don't have to fiddle with the clasp at all. For that reason, makes it very wearable and easy, I think. So I'm going to grab my other handy pliers here, just make sure that that seam is nice and closed, and then I have got a very smart looking bracelet here that I can actually just go ahead and put on and show you guys how cute that is. So I could wear this top front, and then those charms just kind of, just work itself in there. So very, very cute. All right. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. As you can see, I had really no problems making that, and if I can do this effortlessly, I really know you guys can. I hope you'll check out the other videos I have on my YouTube and the other playlists. And until next time, keep it inspirational and creative, and I will see you again soon.